Okay, it's just about time for everybody's favorite boss fight. I'm already overpowered by the headphones being on. I'll just leave them down here. Hopefully they won't get picked up on the audio. But yeah, so we're going to the weapons center. We're going to Infinity Mijinion, which is a water flea.
And kind of like... I don't like this design at all. I'm lying to you right now. I don't like any of it. I like the galaxy in his gut, that's about it.
I actually think there was a little note on Mijinion in here somewhere. I like that a lot of people don't seem to know how to pronounce that. I think Games Freak mentioned that. Like, I say it in our alternate run with him for Zero, and he's like, is that how you say his name? I was like, yeah, he's right there. Everybody calls him Minion or something. Oh, it's not really a note on him in particular, but I guess it's because we got to the 6th title in the series that we got into some pretty unusual themes for our boss characters, like scarabs and water fleas. From a designer's perspective, it seemed like a fun idea. Honestly, I like the idea of Mijinion. I just don't think he was executed very well.
No.
Which is funny, because all the bosses were executed. So, there's basically nothing to this level. I can't get everything in this run-through. We're going to go through here a good grueling 2 times for full completion, but luckily once it's done, it's done.
So, what's Megatron doing in the background?
So, Illumina, and I need to do a little bit of research on this. I don't know if it's a translation thing or if it's actually correct, but they mention in that Navigator text box that Illumina's a Reploid and not a robot, or like a mechanoid rather, which is a really important thing because mechanoid would imply, like bulldozer, whereas Reploid is like all of the thinking, feeling, autonomous, human intelligence level robots that we've been fighting against this entire series. So if Illumina is actually a Reploid, holy fuck, that's terrifying. But yeah, also kind of goofy. The fireball eyes are really kind of silly for the most part. And this stage is basically just, it's...
a ramp?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a spiral staircase, like, I'm assuming, based on the background and how it ends up working out in the end. Because in the boss fight room, you can see Illumina's wreckage, which, doesn't make sense spatially, so I think this is actually the obligatory spiral staircase stage for this game, as opposed to the visually offensive stuff from X4 and 5.
They just put the visually offensive stuff in the background.
Yeah, exactly.
I still like that spiral effect, it's just...
It doesn't fit.
It never fits.
Yeah, it's the closest thing, but not good.
Then they tried again in 7.
So this is the most blatant alternate pathing thing out of the whole game. Where, this is actually the first time I even realized that there were alternate paths. I thought that was a teleporter to Zone 2, because I think this is one of the first stages that I actually got decently far in. And then that's a nice sort of dick move capsule.
Yeah.
But also kind of clever at the same time. Clever in the sense that I don't hate getting to it. And now that we have this, we'll have the full set for the blade armor, which means we'll be cycling back here and, like I said, getting the rest of the collection stuff, because you need... there was one rescue Reploid that you might have seen that I bypassed. It was above one of the wire hooks. Now we can do the mock dash, which is basically... You'll see it when we go over it, but it'll allow me to get areas that I haven't been able to get to before.
Also, there's a heart tank right there.
Yeah, this is just where we put stuff in the stage, and just pile it into the corner or whatever.
For that is just, I sense something.
Yeah.
Thanks, X. A little helpful.
It's more helpful than any of the other alternate path dialogue where it's just like, Aelia! Oh no, Aelia's gone! I totally didn't see this coming. So I'm going to die a lot here. This is some of the only deaths in this run that'll actually be on screen. Because this is just literally a body pit. There's really no other way to interpret going through this spot without just I'm just going to die a lot. And there's nothing I can really do to prevent that. You can get around stuff with, really good air dashes and, really good use of the blade armor's knock dash and stuff. Yeah. But stuff like that down there, it's just you know what? I'd rather just kill myself. Because, all of them give you extra lives anyway. So, just... Fuck this whole section. But, luckily, I didn't lose any of them. And one of them, we thought this was a difficulty change thing when we were talking with Games Freak about it, being on extreme mode versus
Also, we'll get back to that, but we are leaving the level real quick, because we can't do anything.
Oh, right, yeah, so we beat Zero already, or we beat Nightmare Zero, which means going through that boss shutter would take us to another boss, who I do not have the requirements to beat yet, so I would literally just go in there, be like, hey, here's this boss, watch me die to this boss 9 times, because X6 is a masterfully put together piece of game media. But that also means that now we have the Blade Armor, which looks a decent deal in sprite form like the Falcon Armor and the Fourth Armor, but it's got some pretty interesting functions to it. First of all, I actually have a charge shot that's worth a damn again, which is nice. It's kind of like a pseudo-plasma charge shot. I don't use a lot of it because the Blade Armor's other feature is you can hold up on the control pad, whichever you're using, to do a charged saber swing instead of a charged shot when you release a charge shot. And it actually wrecks a lot of stuff. It's how I've started fighting Mijinion outright, not his weakness weapon, which, again, in my opinion, is just completely worthless, even though I have it right now. I'm not going to use it against him. And it's mostly just because of the wide arc of the blade being able to clear out a lot of his bullshit. But, it does some pretty impressive stuff just to Illumina here, so eventually, when I don't cock it up. Also, fun fact, if you are too far to either side of the screens when those gun walls come down, it will crush you and kill you instantly, which is more nice, inconsistent crushing damage.
And good game design.
Yeah. If you use Meteor Rain, Rainy Turtleoid's weapon, on these, you'll stun lock Illumina. So Illumina also has a weakness weapon, which is actually kind of fun. But yeah, this one is just a simple stage with a lot of bullet hell or shit going on, and a good deal of, stupid hidden rescue Reploids, and really that's about it. It is one of the most featureless stages I can think of in the series.
I'm trying to think if there was another one this bad.
Bad how? Because,
empty.
Yeah. I mean, you could kind of argue the train in X4 or the truck convoy in X5, but even then they're at least kind of lampshaded where it's it's a train or it's a truck convoy, and there's also gun emplacements and things like that to sort of mix them up, and they are plain, but they're plain with kind of a reason. This one is just it's a weapons facility. Go down a ramp. There's a general robot in the background. I'm gonna have fun. Which is less than interesting. But yeah, so there's Illumina in the background. And more confirmation, I destroyed such a dangerous Reploid. It's okay, so Illumina's a Reploid then, or at least they got their typo consistent.
So we haven't really mentioned it yet, but people blink a fucking lot in this game.
I thought we did mention that. Or maybe I'm thinking of the other recordings.
You're thinking of the other one.
Yeah.
There's so many struggle.
Myth figured this out, is when they're not talking, they're animated, quote-unquote, by just blinking a shit ton, because I think you'd be worried, X, you're not really doing anything, are you feeling okay, buddy? If they weren't blinking non-stop, they'd never blink when they're actually talking. And that goes for bosses that don't have mouths, like Mijinion and Yamar, where it's
you have...
Why?
Why do you have a separate animation in air quotes for talking for these fuckers?
It must just be a hard code that they use for all of those assets.
It's just... Jesus Christ.
So we're now starting to get into Mijinion doing bullshit, which is just whatever the hell these are supposed to be. I don't know if water fleas make bubbles full of garbage that, seek out their prey, but that's what Mijinion does, so I'm forced to assume that I never got that brought up to me in middle school science class.
As an anthropologist, I can safely say that, yes, this is exactly what a water flea does.
Cool, that makes sense. So normally you would use Guard Shell to deflect a few of his projectile shots. The long, thin arrow, the purple arrow shot, I don't think you can reflect that. So it's kind of yeah, that one. So it's kind of like those certain boss fights in games where it's you can only damage them by reflecting their attack back at them, and it's only one type of attack, and then they might just not do that attack, so the timer runs out, or you just absorb all the damage, and it's just shitty. Mijinion, luckily you can hit without his weakness weapon, but it's the same general idea, except also he's just shitting himself everywhere the entire time, and like just flooding the screen with garbage, and he is genuinely one of my least favorite boss fights in the franchise, because not my least favorite outright. I'm getting better at fighting him with the blade armor. Doing it with like almost anything else early game is just horrible.
Yeah, I believe it. In fact, I know it for a fact.
Yeah, and so that's an interesting thing that I'm glad happened, even though I'm not glad it happened. That Nightmare Soul, which we've been collecting green Nightmare Souls, they're worth 200 after each boss fight. Yeah. Red one means I quote-unquote took too long, which, fuck you game, and is only worth half that, so 100. Luckily, you get a really good weapon out of it, Ray Arrow. Unluckily, this unlocks the most infamously terrible nightmare phenomenon for stages. Rainy Turtleoid and Commander Yamar can have it happen on their stages, which I'm going to be cycling out and not showing at any point in this playthrough because I don't want to hate myself, and that is the spotlight effect, the nightmare darkness that makes it so you can only see like a third of the screen at any given time. I don't know why that comes from his level, but it does.
You think maybe from the laser dude it would come from?
No, the laser dude's actually does. Well, he kind of is. Because Sheldon isn't really a laser guy.
I don't know, but like from the laser stage.
Oh my god, why is the bodyguard on the laser stage, but then there's a stage. Or what? Wait. Wow. Fuck X6.
Anyway,
whatever.
Blaze Heatnix.
Get ready for the best stage in the game. So, first of all, not to interrupt you, we are already going to be presented with some of the most top-notch English in the game, outside of Inami Temple, which is Turtleoid's stage. I've never seen this color of the magma.
Is this the nightmare?
Oh man, so since we have nothing else to talk about, this must be the nightmare. Since we have nothing else to talk about in this stage, because the stage is terrible up until certain components, this will be a good opportunity for me to talk about what I think they're trying to say about the nightmare phenomenon in this translation. I'm pretty sure it's wrong, but first I want to go over the general stage gimmick that everybody already knows, but it's my civic duty, so I'm going to, as soon as these two stop talking about the thing that we can't see yet. Here's your giant mechanoid. It's called Nightmare Snake. It's based on Ouroboros. There are 5, technically 6 of them in the stage. You will never stop fighting them. You will never stop hating yourself. You will never stop hating this level. It's just a gauntlet of mini-boss fights, except they're all the same mini-boss in progressively easier environments to fight it. Then the hotspot that they talk about, which is really irritating but not really difficult, just annoying, then easy again, and then a boss fight.
So it's kind of like X5. Whale boat.
Somehow worse. Somehow worse, because there are sections of it where it will just like rely on instant death barriers to kill you. And technically there is crushing damage in the U555 segments of McWhalen's stage, but somehow I hate myself much less when I'm playing that level, because it's kind of a nice, slow, scenic route, and this one is just screaming at you the whole time, and the fight is terrible, and it's just not good. And it also proves that they didn't learn from their previous mistake that everybody already hated to begin with. Also, these fire vents do way too much fucking damage, and they're really hard to read, and just fuck this whole level. That fire vent, I found out in my mini practice runs, doesn't ever shoot fire. There's no way for you to know that. Also, the Mach Dash can pass through, I think, like, 1. Because of however the frames of the Mach Dash work, so you can use that to get through certain things like I try to do there, but then very gracefully fuck up. So we're about to drop into another Nightmare Snake section, so now I'm going to talk about the Nightmare phenomenon. What I think they're trying to get across, at least in this butchered translation, I don't know if it's actually how it is in the proper reading. I don't know if it's ever explained anywhere very well. But I think the nightmare is, like, supposed to be leftover remnants of the Zero virus, which is already kind of a given, because there is Nightmare Zero in this. And I think they're supposed to kind of be, like, damaging hallucinations So, like, none of it is actually happening, but it's, like, some remnant of the virus in the mechanical brain causing damage to the body, like it's breaking itself down or something. And the only thing that I'm gathering that from, and this is wild speculation on my part, I don't expect anybody else to have thought of the same thing or agree with me, but again, I'm filling time, so there's not a lot else for me to do right now. All of Alia's stuff that she talks about in regards to the nightmare phenomenon, like, I don't see that on the monitors anywhere, so it must be the nightmare phenomenon, and it's a nightmare, so like a dream. So my assumption is that they're very ham-fistedly saying, like, okay, well, you think there's lava here, so you'll die. Like, if you die in the dream, you die for real. And again, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's how I have taken this version of the story. And in a way, it's almost interesting, because, like, I think you could write a cool computer virus story around that. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like BioShock kind of does it later on with, like, the Code Yellow, I think, or whatever the hell it is, where it's like he's telling you with the mind control to have your heart stop beating, which does permanent damage to you over time. And it's almost like that, except it's presented as the Nightmare Snakes, and it makes me want to kill myself. So, take that as you will.
Two things that I really like about the nightmare thing, and like is in quotes, and they're both from this level, is one, guys, is this the nightmare virus? I don't fucking know. I have no information on it, so yes, that's the nightmare virus.
It must be.
It's like, okay, that's a great way about thinking of things. Thanks, Alia. Two, guys, this lava's a little weirdly colored. Nightmare virus. Holy shit.
Nightmare lava. No, nightmare magma.
Also, why the fuck is it a nightmare effect? It's just lava. Who cares what color it is? Magma. So it's still fucking magma. That's it. It's just Kool-Aid color.
Who knows?
What the shit?
I mean, I guess it's just like, it's bizarre. And I mean, like, if you're gonna have a token fire stage, what else would you do with it? Actually, I know what you'd do with it. You'd make it like nightmare magma that's actually ice. At least then you'd have a reason for the coloration. It's like, you're in a volcano, but everything is fucking freezing. What's going on here? But there's already an ice level in this one, too, so fuck that. So, this is another death. I'm glad this episode is full of all the deaths. I'm doing this very clearly on purpose. Normally, in order to get all the rescue Reploids, you would have to do this stage 3 times, unless you die. I'm still going to have to do it 2, counting this one. Because there's this path, and then the path that I'm going to be going through, which lead into the next area in different ways. You go in here, get the one rescue Reploid, die, and then do the other route, because the restart point's here, and the rescue Reploids stay in your inventory or rescue log or whatever after you're dead. So, if you do it this way, you can minimize how many times you're going through, and I'm actually pretty convinced that this is probably faster than having to do the stage 3 times, in any case. Plus, it refills your ammo and stuff, so you can start off on this one with a lot of stuff. You can be a little bit more liberal. It's not the worst thing, even if you're going for, like, deathless stuff, which I'm kind of doing in this run. It's just a matter of, like, do I really want to go through this again in the collection stage? And I am going to go back through it, because there's the alternate path, which has another important rescue Rebel and a sub-tank in it. So it's like, just fine, whatever, I'll play your game, I guess. I hate it. This also nets me a couple extra Nightmare Souls, which isn't a huge deal, but is a nice consolation prize, I guess.
I like that right now the Nightmare effect is just these.
Yeah.
This is the darkest of nightmares. Man was not meant to view such images.
They are... Oh, yeah, if it's going off of what I was saying. And, I mean, there's plenty of plot holes in my theory, like, why are they blocking X's shots? How am I able to interact with them in, like, a way that's blowing me backwards? You're, like, using it as a platform, but it's just the only thing that makes enough sense to me to give a shit. These things do actually start to get really annoying, though, and it happens a lot in this video, is if they pass through you when they're spawning like that, they do damage you. And it just keeps happening! So it's like, stop it, you fucking assholes! I hate you so much! But yeah, so this room is important.
This is the hot spot.
This is the hot spot. This is the other bullshit one that I was talking about. You'll see why pretty soon. There's a lot to unpack just for this one room. The branching paths will put you out either at this ground floor or higher up. If you go higher up, miss a rescue replay. So, and you don't get that dialogue, which I only care about because I'm trying to showcase the dialogue as much as I possibly can. Just for, I guess, complete Let's Play purposes. But the issue with that is it would mitigate the whole doing the stage 3 times thing. I found that out. I don't know why it didn't occur to me that that wouldn't happen, but I usually do this route second. So if you're doing my die first thing, do the top shutter, die in there, then do the bottom shutter, and that way you don't have to worry about that. It means you get to do this for even longer, but you get everything out of it. So right here is the rescue replay. That is a rescue replay with a nightmare right next to it. If you don't know that that is there, it will possess it before it's even fully on screen. So you either have to get a really good shot off, or just run into the nightmare and grab the replay before it gets there. I've gotten up there with it already completely infected, no animations playing or anything before, and it's just like, why? Why are you doing this to us? What makes anybody think that that's challenging and not just like being a dick to your players? And so that's the thing that I've been kind of holding off on, is there's a couple instances of death from off-screen in this game.
Yeah.
Not as much as later on, but this kind of starts the trend of like, but for what purpose?
Like, the rescue replay system is only good in its first instance, and it's only gone downhill.
Literally every time. It has gotten progressively worse. Also, look at all these goddamn bees!
It's terrifying.
Like, to the point where I just want them gone.
Also, I like that when you get into the level, they make a huge deal of the nightmare magmas, and just, it's a fire level. I'm pretty sure this is like the only time in the level you actually see the fucking magma.
No. It's in a couple other spots. Plus, it's in the background the whole time, too, which obviously doesn't matter, but it's about to come up again, and it comes up in the boss fight as well. So.
But yeah, it's like, you're what? 3/4 of the way through the stage at this point?
Yeah.
Before it finally
The
actually...
fire vents aren't even purple! I just thought of that! Fuck this. Alright, so, if you don't somehow defeat that nightmare snake before you hit that top section, that is all the real estate you have to fight it. The lava will stop magma will stop rising, and I watched one of Violin's run on it just because I was curious about how he handles it, and he hates this too. That's not just me, or most everybody. But even he was like, this is just stupid, because, like, there's only a platform on one side, so you're probably going to get left with, like, the bottom left corner of the Nightmare Snake to fight, which means you have to jump over to the opposite wall and wall cling and shoot at it while it's in the lava above an infinite or instant death pit. It's just like, what the fuck, though? Like, why? Why would you make this the final arena if you know it's going to be fightable here? Then just make a platform on both sides. You're literally doing it right now. It's such a frustrating level. But yeah, this is the last one. That shutter up at the top right is Heatnix. And this is really nerve-wracking. I'm sorry it's going to take a while, and I'm completely out of things to fucking say about this level now. But I was playing it really safe because, again, I'm trying to avoid actual deaths just because, like, I feel the need to torture myself. Luckily, this is one of the easiest versions of this fight, even though I get hit because I'm paranoid and panicking and stuff like that, and also not really that good most of the time.
You don't get a heal between this mini-boss and the full boss. That seems fair.
There's not a lot of healing that happens in this game, and there's a lot of instances where it should probably be present. But yeah, this one is honestly pretty easy. You can manipulate where it comes up really easily, because basically just the moment it's under you, it'll come up, so you can kind of tell it where to rise up so that you've got your run of the landscape, which is honestly really nice. Like, if all of them were kind of like this, I actually don't think I'd mind this effect that much. And don't get me wrong, this is the stage. This isn't one of the shifting optional nightmare phenomenon. This is a thing that you have to deal with. Luckily, when we go through for collection, it'll only be 2 of them, which 2 out of 5 isn't bad, but also shouldn't be a problem that we're even putting into numerical form in the first place. So, again, take that as you will. What the hell else is in the book? I'm dry. I've got nothing else until we get to the boss fight.
Isn't, like, the first battle against this guy, like, completely miserable without the blade armor?
You can manage all of them, but... Oh, hey, I could talk about the blade armor. Thank you. As it dies. I made the buster part to look like a bow, but when it opens up, it looks like the hilt for the blade. Also, the crystals and other core parts are generally located to act as centerpieces, But as I decided to spread them towards the edges and emphasize how pretty they are. Which is why it's got such fabulous knee pads and everything going on there. I like the design of that.
Prepare yourself.
But yeah, the first one is pretty shitty. And it's like such a bad introduction to the stage, where it's like, get used to it, assholes. So, this looks grim.
Oh, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I swear, like, half the time when I look at this background, I can't see those platforms up there.
Yeah, when we were watching through this, I think you actually asked, what are you standing on right now? It's like, the platforms. You're like, oh! Also, that's just, like, every time I see that, it's like, oh, no, the grape jelly reserves have broken. Darn.
I don't like that Heatnix is looking away from you.
Well, he's kind of a dick if you look at what he's, like, saying right now. Like, he's basically... All of the Fire Mavericks are like this, and it really kind of bums me out that, like, not once they try to break tropes, which... Tropes are fine, but when you have 8 games and most of them have a fire boss, and it's like, maybe one of them doesn't care that much about, like, oh, there's no strong fighters left anywhere, I have to do this. It's like... Or you can just not.
No, honor's really important.
You're right. So, one thing that I've noticed, and I'm not 100% sure if this is accurate all the time, but it's how I've been dodging it, is when he goes under the lava like that and swoops around, he'll go back and forth 7 times and then dart back up, so you can kind of listen to it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, cool. So, I think I'm right on that. I don't, like, it's probably going to get disproven in my own video, but it's a good way to know when to dodge if you haven't noticed that pattern. Also, this is literally a miracle. I've never had him, before this recording, have the fire come up from the bottom twice. Normally, I'd be down there with, like, near undodgeable crescent wave attacks, and would just be gone instantly. But, beyond all odds, I actually managed to no-damage Heatnix, which... Holy fuck! Literally any one piece of damage would have killed me, but... As if to prove how fed up I am with his level.
So when's your no damage run coming up?
Absolutely never. I can do that for X1, maybe, if I'm lucky, but most of the time it just ends with me being angry. So we're not going to do that. 7 will cover enough of that effect as it is. And Magma Blade is actually a pretty useful weapon. I don't think I use it that much in recording, but it pierces terrain, which gives it the distinction of piercing terrain. And it's good wide shot, it's decently powerful, it doesn't use that much ammo, it's wide. I think it's a little wider than the Blade Armor's charge shot is actually, and I think it also counts as a melee attack up close, so you've got this nice all-range straight line. Also, KG has one of the most important power-ups for me in my strategy, the Ultimate Buster, and he's in this stage, and I think one of the ones that's, like, borderline bullshit to pick up, so we're looking good for my end game, which everyone thinks is terrible, but I don't give a fuck what you think. Please keep watching, I love your views. Yeah, so, again, this is just a case of Fire Boss is a dick who likes to be combative and strong, but for whatever reason he was, like, overpowered, and then Gate was like, nah, let's turn that up a little bit. Stronger, so...
Oh, like heat, I gotcha.
Yeah,